I think I'm back online. Let me check. Right, sorry guys, I had a disconnect. Okay, I seem to be streaming again. Great. So where did I leave off? This was right here. I was looking up how to do release DC, which takes a window handle. But here it says if I create a DC using one of the create DC function calls, I need to call delete DC. So release DC was the wrong function to call here. Here. So we fix that. We compile. This is one. So I'm not using this guy because sometimes this default char is car is just a space. It's invisible basically. Exactly, yeah, that's why I took this one out. Before it was like this. But I want a white rectangle that's not filled inside for as a default glyph, and that isn't always in the font, seems. So that's why it was commented out in the code. Okay, here we create default glyph, and then I think I begin rendering characters, the glyphs. Yeah, which I do for all ranges, and I'm just gonna assume that we have ranges. I'm basically cheating here. Well, I'm not. I'm gonna pull this out at some time. At some point. And support multiple. Basically, I'm doing as if I already know, as if I already support multiple ranges, even though there's only one range. So that later on I can just put this somewhere else, initialize the ranges properly, and then it should just work. So a font range is basically the first code point. It's a range of code points. This is the first one, and this is the last one, non-inclusive. And then an array of glyphs that correspond to each of these code points. And the font info has a bunch of these ranges for each supported Unicode character, or ranges of Unicode code points. So if the range isn't initialized yet, we're gonna initialize it. So these should be unsigned integers. And since I just said it's a non-inclusive, this needs to be one more than whatever NZ goes up to 255. So it actually I'm not supporting NC. Or is it a ASCII? I forget. One of those two. We only need the first 128 characters basically. Here we allocate the glyphs. Let's see, what is this doing? So this is temporary memory, which means I need a way to get temporary memory. And let's just take a second. Allocator, which will be used for temporary memory. And anything we allocate inside this block will be automatically released once the block is once the scope ends. Okay, this basically I can just copy. Since max is non-inclusive and this one takes inclusive ranges, I need to subtract 1 from here. Okay. Okay, it's not compiling. What is this? Left of menu. This should be an arrow. I guess I was copying this. And the font range also has a boolean value whether it's visible. Okay. Ranges is not a member of font range, it's glyphs. Okay, we are rendering now all of the glyphs. Then we're gonna get the kerning pairs. How am I doing this? Font kerning. It's a key and an amount. Wouldn't it be better to have just keys and just amounts? Where do I use this? Like this. Okay. We're gonna do this differently. We're gonna do this. We're gonna store the keys and the amount separately. And probably to use a hash map instead. I guess I'm not doing this even in this code base. Okay, let's get back to the kerning pairs code. So you're getting the kerning pairs. Okay, I'm not doing supplementing yet, which is when I'm loading a bitmap font from the file system and supplementing it with kerning pairs from a font file. So for now, fit to size. Right. That's why I was allocating them both at once. To do release unused memory here. Okay, that's fine. The problem is, here I get the number of kerning pairs back, but not all of the kerning pairs actually have any kerning amounts. They don't offset the characters that get rendered. So in that sense, I don't need to store them. So I was filtering them here by checking whether the amount is actually non-zero, which means I'm allocating too many elements here in the arrays. I should also store a kerning count, which is the number of elements in these arrays. Except I'm probably gonna change num here. Maybe not. So if the amount was 0, I know I allocated one too many, and I'm gonna make it shorter by 1. Here I'm checking whether the allocation succeeded. We are using kerning pairs W, that's correct. Get range from code point. What is this doing? Just looping over all the ranges and seeing. Okay. Void. Oh no. Font range. Find. Font range. ranges. And then the code point. Guess I have two versions of this, one that returns an index. Okay. Okay, this is very messy looking. So I'm checking whether the kerning pair here, this entry, even has a kerning amount associated with it, and whether we are generating a glyph for the first character or code point, and whether we're generating a glyph for the second character or code point. And only in that, if all of these are true, we're gonna initialize the kerning key and amount. Not doing supplementing yet. Okay. Font get the font range. Diffs. That's fine. I was thinking whether I should change that to size T, but I try to not use unsigned integers as much as possible. So let's leave that in. Okay, round to 32. I don't have that. So we're gonna use this one. And I don't think I have round. No, it says not implemented. I will think in a second about how to implement that. For now, okay, the key is a UN64 and these are two UN32, so I have to combine them together to form a key. To turning key. First code point, UN32, second code point. So we're casting it to EN64. Excuse me. Shifting it 32 to the left, and then ORing it with the first one, which we also will cast to EN64, and then we return that. So we could have just written this. Can I somehow rewrite this so it looks nicer? I guess it's fine. Let's try to compile. Oh, I don't have a push array in this code base, it's allocate array. Size t to d word. It's either I cast this here, I cast it here to size t or here to d word, so this is better. What is this? Can I convert from font range? Oh. Oh, okay, it's compiling. You're not releasing unused memory. The problem with releasing the unused memory here is that some of the kerning pairs, like basically I'm asking, hey, font, how many kerning pairs do you have? That is, and it returns me num. Then I allocate num amounts of kerning keys and kerning amounts. But then it turns out that some of the kerning amounts are 0. So they aren't adjusting the glyph on the screen at all. Which means I don't need to store them. Doesn't make any sense. In which case I know to decrement this value. But since these two arrays aren't since these are two different arrays, they are laid out like this in the memory. So there are a bunch of kerning keys, then unused memory because some of the amounts were 0, and then a bunch of amounts. and then a bunch of more unused memory since I allocated a little bit too much. Turn this. My problem here is if I want to release memory, I need to turn this one into this. So they are contiguous and I can release all of this code, all of that memory back to the allocator since I'm not using it. There was one other place where I did this, I think graphics. Yeah, I'm doing something similar here. I'm thinking about whether I can make this turn this into a generic function. So this is something that happens often if you're using a stack allocator. You have to allocate more memory than you need just to be safe, and then later on, if you want to, you can fit the arrays you allocated to size and then release the unused memory, which isn't necessary. Since it takes time to move the memory around. But since this is initializing code or a loading code, we have time to do this. If we allocate it on runtime, I wouldn't be moving memory around. So we need a little bit of alignment here between the two arrays, probably. Okay, can I turn this into something generic? Let's try it out. Fit to size arrays. So it seems I need the first array, the size of the first array, the second array, its size, but also the alignment of the second array. Then I know where the memory starts. I know where the first array ends. It's at this location. And I need the alignment offset of that location and the alignment of the second array. And then I know where the new location for the second array is. Let's move this here. So we're turning this array into this plus the alignment and then the second array. So the two arrays are contiguous. Set first end plus the alignment offset. And then we move the memory to the new location. This should be second. These are sizes, not counts. The difference being these are in bytes and counts are in elements. So we're moving the memory to its new location. Then we need to know where the memory ends, which is at this location. So this one points to here. So after this memory index, all of the memory is free, basically. And we're setting the allocator size to this value here. That's not quite correct yet. Let me think about this. We're setting this to this location. So I need to assert that the pointers that we supplied here are actually allocated with this allocator. First is let me write a helper function for that. Is allocated with it's a weird name. Can it be equal? Can't be equal. Okay, allocator. This basically checks whether the pointer is inside the range of the memory region the allocator holds. And we're gonna assert that the pointers that we supply here are actually of this allocator. in which case this computation is correct, and then we're done. This should be enough. So I don't need this memory start. Okay, now since this is pretty weird to use, we're gonna use that using a macro. So basically this macro will make it easier to use this function, since this way I won't ever forget to do this multiplication with size of. These should be in parentheses. Then I can also just get the alignment like this. Okay, to release the unused memory, I just need to pass in so this needs to return the new location of the array, of the second array. Okay, which means this is gonna cast itself to this type. Can I just say this? Let's try it out. Okay, like this. This should basically do everything I wanted here, and we're gonna put this into the stack allocator. Um, okay, let's put it here. Let's compile. Identifier out. Why? No. These should be fine. Syntax error. So it doesn't like me putting parentheses here. Interesting. Suddenly something in a totally unrelated part of the code doesn't compile anymore. So let me uncomment this. And then it compiles. Interesting. Why is this line creating errors over here? So I must have made an error here. So let me try to cast this manually. So that wasn't the error. Or let me try to call this directly and then turn that into a macro. Wait, this is what he doesn't like. Syntax identify alt. Line of this thing. Why don't you like it? Does this have to be a type? Type of. Yes, oh, okay. Interesting. That align of doesn't work with values. So type of, and then the first version should be working too, without this cost even. Yeah, great. So this means I can change this code here too. And this one pretty much one thing I'm missing is this, which is the total amount. I can't calculate it. This is just this. And this, like this. I don't need that anymore since I'm assigning to it over here. So if I run the game now, everything should be working like it was before, hopefully. Yeah. So my fit to size function that I just wrote does the right thing. Yeah. Since I'm using that method when generating the voxels. Okay. So once we're here, we know that all the glyphs are rendered and the pixels are in this pointer, and we can call into this function over here, which is called upload image to GPU, to generate a texture. So do I have? Oh, okay. So I can just cast this into in32 to get a texture ID. Good. So then we should be able to fill in this structure, which is just the bits, then the width and height of the bitmap, and then we're gonna upload that bitmap to the GPU, getting back a texture ID. I think I should write a function for that. Where is texture ID defined? Over here, so this needs to be under graphics. Cannot, oh yeah, this needs to be event date. Okay. Ranges test. Here is where we need to generate the texture. Oh no, that's not true either. Ranges count, we need to iterate over all ranges. And then set the texture. Since the texture is like an atlas and all the different glyph ranges use the same texture, so I only need to upload the whole texture once, and all the glyphs that I generated here refer to the same texture. Oh. Okay. Let's try it out. Hopefully it's something that does something. Okay. Where is platform services over here. Let's pull these out and put them somewhere the game layer can access it. Wait, I already have a graphics over here. Okay, so graphics. No, I'm gonna put that in a different location. Okay. So this shouldn't be called font info anymore. It's a whole font. Let's see what this is. Wait, these are also belonging to this. So this doesn't know of texture ID. Okay, like this. Where platform services. So we're gonna expose this function to the game layer. Not exactly. So the function we're gonna expose to the game layer, it's only gonna take an allocator, the font name, yeah, these parameters only. So we need a way to get the other stuff, other parameters. So the device context and the right care font name. I'm gonna copy that also from my other code base. It's a really small function. Oh wait, I don't have Unicode support in this yet, so that's not needed. Well, maybe I should just add the Unicode support then. Right? Hmm. Oh no, I didn't mean to double click. Come on. So let's see. This thing. Okay. Pretty basic class. So where does it do the conversion? Here. So I need this function. Let's just copy code, my Unicode library. I don't have a start with, okay. Prefix? I have a is prefix, okay. Is prefix. can get rid of this. I'm not gonna use it. Okay, Unicode is in. Type wkrt unexpected. Um, font generation. This doesn't return anything. Okay. Could you increase the mic volume? Oh, sorry about that. Just a sec. Is it better now? Okay, the Win32 generate font method function, it takes an allocator but also scrap memory, since it needs to allocate a bunch of memory that it then discards right away. But currently I don't have scrap memory, I just have a single allocator, so I'm gonna extend the allocator, stack allocator, in a way where we can partition it into two allocators. So this thing is gonna take us stack. It's gonna take an allocator, and then return me two allocators. Let me think for a second about this. It doesn't need the second one. Basically, it's gonna take an allocator, it's gonna allocate a second allocator out of its pool. So this method is gonna create a partition based on a ratio. Primary. Yeah, I have a function that can allocate a stack allocator from an existing allocator. So you're gonna use that. You're gonna take the remaining size of the allocator and divide it by the ratio. Which is actually this one. So if I divide like this, this is gonna return how much the primary allocator isn't gonna use. And this should be +1. So basically, if primary ratio is 1, it's gonna partition the allocator 50-50, 1-to-1, in a 1-to-1 ratio, which means the size for the first allocator is half of what is remaining in the allocator, which is 1 plus 1, it's the half. And if the ratio is 2-to-1, this will be divided by 3, and we're gonna take a third off from the remaining size of the allocator. Yeah, okay, this makes sense. So what performance gains you get by using these allocators? First of all, my allocators aren't thread safe, so I don't need to do any mutex locking or anything. So in that sense, it's faster. Also, I'm pre-allocating my memory, so I'm just giving out memory that I've already allocated. So each allocation is really, really fast since I'm not doing much of anything when allocating. And the primary reason why I'm using stack allocators is because I want to implement later on live code editing, which means my game code is gonna live inside the DLL, and I can just memcopy my whole game into a secondary buffer, and this only works if my game doesn't allocate any memory outside from what it is given. That's why I'm so strict with the memory allocation. So basically later on I can do, if I recompile the DLL, I can copy the memory of the game into a new memory region, unload the DLL, load the new recompiled DLL into memory, and then fill in the game memory with the copy I made. And this way I have live code editing. Okay, this should be working. The next thing is we need a destructor for this partition, which will basically just deallocate the scrap allocator by resetting the size of the allocator. Which is print the end of the allocator we created minus the base pointer of the allocator. So memory is laid out like this. The stuff that was already in the allocator, then we allocated prim, and then all the scrap stuff is follows after prim, and the allocator size is this whole thing, and we want it to be just this thing, which is we need this position here. That position as a pointer is this one. It's the base pointer of prim plus how much we allocated, and then the minus the base pointer of the allocator itself will return the size of this region. Okay, and then if we set the allocator size to that, it means we basically got rid of everything that was in scrap, and that memory will be reused for later allocations. So this thing here will create a partition. There is a caveat. I only want this to fire if the allocator is valid. If it has the pointer to an allocator, and I will give it a dismiss method. Which basically undoes the partition and sets the allocator to null so that this destructor doesn't fire anymore. And the reason I want to do that is when using memory partitions. Where is my code? The font loading here. So here I'm gonna make a partition. So I wanted to create a partition in a 1-to-1 ratio. No, I want a commit function, not a dismiss function. So these need to be the other way around. So the destructor is gonna reset the size to the old size, but if I commit the memory, then it's gonna keep anything. Then it's gonna keep the stuff that was allocated in prim. And the reason I do that is because now I can always return early out of functions, and this partition will wipe anything that was allocated. And only if I commit will it keep the stuff that was allocated. And this way I can use the stuff, the allocators the partition gives me, and this way I always have a primary allocator and an allocator for scrap memory that gets discarded anyway. So the rename tf8 name, does it take size, weight, italic, and the out. Size, weight, italic, out. And this is the function we're gonna expose to the game layer. Right, I have way too many tabs open. Just close all of them. Okay, this is the game layer. Not like this. Then the Win32 layer will give the pointer to that function to the game, so the game can load fonts. Then initialize game. I can here game data. Let's have a font here. Font like this. And when we're initializing the game, we're gonna create a font. Bold font. I think I like this more if it loads fonts like this instead of passing it in, since everything else I do like this too. So let me change the signature real quick. Okay, this makes sense. Now I need to update this thing. Initialize game, load font. So we're gonna pass in the allocator, Arial 11, normal weight, and no italics. Function does not take 8 arguments. 1, 2, or the device context. This spawns a window, right? Yeah, okay. I'll be right back. I'm gonna take a 5-minute break. See you in 5 minutes. Okay, I'm back already. Stop. Okay, I need a device context. The problem is I don't have access to a device context since this will get called from the game. I could. I will make that global. Hi Elercia, I'm working on rendering text at the moment. Or I'm generating a bitmap font at the moment. And I'm working on making that work and hopefully displaying the texture I generated. Okay, so this way I will have access to the window handle, and I can call getDC, which we need to generate the font, and afterwards we are gonna release the DC. What did I call it? Window data. Oh, function does not takes also the window handle. This needs to be game. Where is it? Platform services dot load font. This should be load font. Wait, this is fine. Okay. Basically, I should have a font. After this is the first time I'm testing the code. Let's see what it does. Test is no. Okay, that is because this function expects that the destination already knows how many ranges it expects. What font range, which is 1 at the moment. Alright, so we're getting this far at least. No, this isn't null anymore. But it's just coincidence that they are all 0 since I didn't fill them in as 0. Wait, no. 0 memory. Wait, did I get rid of the breakpoint? Yes, I did. Alright. So dest is now correctly initialized to 0. Glyphs is null at the moment. We are overwriting the ranges. So 128 glyphs are, we are trying to load 128 glyphs. Then we are getting the character width. Access violation. Glyphs. Wait, glyphs is. We did allocate glyphs. J is null. 0. Let's try that again. Not sure why that is an access violation. So 3584 bytes. That's what we are trying to allocate. And we have a lot of remaining size on the allocator. So we're not out of memory. We are getting a valid result back. And suddenly this pointer is invalidated. So allocating out of this allocator somehow overrode this memory. So we have a memory corruption problem here. How can that be? So allocator pointer plus allocator size, that is the end of the allocator, so it shouldn't overlap with the other one. Then we increment the size. Return the result. And somehow these ranges are overlapping. So they're only 40 bytes apart. Which is not right. So my partition code is wrong. The allocations are correct, but these two allocators overlap their memory. Make stack allocator does allocate this. So maybe prim size is wrong. No, it's huge. Just so I can inspect what the remaining size is. Make sure that the calculations are correct. So there is lots of bytes remaining. Take half of it. Yes, we did take half of it. The allocator size should be growing by 4 million bytes. Yeah, it did. This thing's capacity is correct. So these ranges aren't overlapping. Since the end of this allocator is past the prim capacity. Does this call the disruptor? Oh, that's right. This thing needs a move constructor. So I was releasing the memory I just allocated, and then trying to use the allocator with, which was basically dead. It was released memory. That's why it wasn't working. So this way we disable the destructor, and this one will, instead of destructing the thing we're trying to return, it will move it into the new object, and this way default constructor. Okay, and this should be enough. Let's just make sure that on this line we don't call the destructor. We go into the destructor, but the allocator is null, so we disabled it, which means we moved into the new one. And this allocator, yeah, it has the correct size, so good. You're not, the allocations all work now. The problem is I don't have a rounding function. Where do I use that? Round. Right here. I'm gonna use a different function here. That the overhang can be negative, so isn't that only valid for positive numbers? This is what I wanted to write at first, but if it's negative, this will... Oh no, that's right, it's floor. Yeah, this works. Okay, the game is running, but I removed my breakpoint, it seems. Let me make sure that the thing we get returned does contain ranges, and no, the texture is 0, so we didn't load anything. So let's try it again. This is where I'm loading the bits. Except this time it's RGB data, it's not RGBA, that's why it's failing. Okay, it's RGB data, good to know. So I need to change this function here. No, I don't need to change this. I need to turn the image data here into RGBA format, since I do need the alpha channel. That's right. I need the alpha channel. So we are gonna do a temporary memory block using this scrap memory. We're gonna allocate the image data, which is width times height times 4 color components RGBA. And then why is my tab suddenly broken? I need to restart. Sublime text. Is it still doing it? No, okay. Weird bug. We're gonna loop once through the whole image. Uh, then you're gonna turn oops. Actually, just one color channel is enough. Since I'm rendering the text white on a black background, so I can just check a single channel. And I'm gonna set all the colors to that one channel. which means if the color was black, this will turn into opaque black. Although I don't want that, I want it to be opaque, invisible white, not invisible black. Otherwise I get black bars, black borders around the text. So if it's visible, we're gonna turn it to, we're gonna use the color that we blitted as the alpha channel, and we're always gonna output white. Actually, I can just leave it like this. It's always white, only the alpha channel changes. And then we increment the image data by 4, since we're going 4 bytes at once, and the bits we increment by 3, since it's RGB. And after that, we will have our RGBA data image, which we can upload to the GPU, and this shouldn't fail this time. Nope, it failed. Oh, it's I did the same mistake again. It's because I didn't initialize OpenGL yet. Yeah, I'm initializing OpenGL after I initialize the game, so I can't load any fonts at that point. So if I assert this, I know that OpenGL wasn't initialized yet. Yeah, it wasn't initialized yet, that's why. So I can't load resources when initializing the game. Yeah, this doesn't belong here. It has to go here. And let's change this into resources loaded. Okay, no, let's try it again. Alright, this time we get a valid something back, but I'm not initializing the texture coordinates, it seems. And the ascent also, which is fine, but we did generate a texture. Let me bind that texture. Sadly, the texture seems to be completely white. So whatever I generated, it wasn't a font texture. Oh wait. So these should be 0. So these should be invisible whites, which means I probably don't have alpha enabled. Is it GL blend? Or no, I want to enable alpha testing. Alpha test, there it was. Okay. Context. No. Prepare render. Let's do it here. So alpha testing and alpha func. So I'm gonna so anything that's equal to 0 gets doesn't get rendered. And no, nothing gets rendered. So this needs to be greater. Okay, so the texture has 2 white dots in it. The font texture, that is. Let me make that bigger. So it seems we did manage to get something back. But I think there is a mistake with how I'm interpreting this. I did say it's 32 bits. Oh, is that why? Let me say that it's 24, since it's RGB. Okay, at least we are getting... Yeah, that was the mistake. So let me return this to 32 and Alright, I'm getting the default glyph back, but any other glyph isn't being rendered. That is the small, let me make it bigger. Uh, uh, uh. That cube to the upper right, upper left, that is the default glyph that I'm rendering, that I'm drawing over here. Default glyph. I'm creating a pen, and then I am drawing a rectangle. That is what we were seeing there. So am I never getting in here? Oh, I didn't set the range to visible, that's why. Okay, let's try that again. Still not seeing anything. So it's visible. So I am actually initializing the texture coordinates. Yeah, this time, since I did set the destination to visible, and I am rendering the glyphs. Did I not set the color to white? Text out color. How do I set the color? Set text color. No, I did call it already. So it should be rendering background mode transparent. What if I just do this and then check what the output is? No, not seeing anything. That's disappointing. So not even the default glyph? So the alpha value is always 0, okay. Oops. So this is always 0. still only seeing the default glyph. So let me not set the background mode to transparent. Where was it? Okay, there it is. I'm rendering something. So the background color of the text, I want it to be black. Nothing. That's a mistake. I'm using I here instead of J. Simple little typo. There they are. So I am actually rendering something. So I can generate the font texture actually. So let me render that in the native resolution of the font texture. Yep, they are readable. Alright, but they are bold. Let's see. Bold font. This should be 400. Alright, there they are. So okay, I can generate the font texture. Tomorrow we're gonna do text output. So that's it for me for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. Tomorrow we're gonna do text output, and after that I'm gonna do a simple graphical interface just so I can do some voxel editing and save that to the file. And once I have voxel models, I can start working on the game itself. So that's the plan. Thanks for watching. That's it for me for today. and see you tomorrow.